Saturday morning, I'm going to be getting up around 5 a.m. to head out to the airport to catch my 8 a.m. flight up to Minneapolis. And Saturday, by coincidence, is going to be the first day that we will have water on our boat. Those of you who have been following the ongoing saga, we discovered that there's this really kind of cool little unknown thing here in Washington, D.C., which is the marina, and where for about 1/4 the cost of rent, if you buy a used boat, which we did, we got a 30-year-old Chris Craft, buy a used boat, you can park it there for a whole lot less than rent. It's like cheap living. It's kind of cool. And it's also, you're in the water. And we're really having a good time. Except that, well, I'm not complaining. I mean, I kind of knew this came with the territory. This thing called winter water, which means winter no water. Like when it froze here 3-4 days ago, they turned off the water to the marina. And I mean, we do have access to winter. Actually, they turned off the water like 2 weeks ago. And I've been filling up the tank with a hose every 3 or 4 days. But then the hose froze. So we got no water in the boat. And they can't. And so, if you can't take a shower in the boat, can't use the bathroom in the boat. And so we got to run down the dock to the security gate where they've got actually bathrooms and showers and laundry. And so this morning I got up, yesterday morning, get up early in the morning and throw on some clothes and take a towel and a bottle of shampoo and walk down and, get ready. And then last night, I mean, it's just like, ongoing adventures. This morning, though, when I got up, there was an inch of snow on the dock and all over the boat and on the windshield of the boat and everything. I mean, it was like winter wonderland. And last night, this was hysterical. Like about 6 months ago, Jacob's got the audio someplace. It was the fish noises. I don't know if you know where that is or what it is. But, when we first moved into this boat, every morning it must have been in the spring of this year because we moved in February or March. Every morning around 5 a.m., we'd suddenly start hearing this whack, 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 whack noise. And I was really concerned, so I called up a friend of mine who is really very knowledgeable about living on the water and has lived for years. Here's the noise that we heard.
Recording.
That's what it sounds like in my bedroom, right? Whack, 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 whack. And I'm like, what, is my boat falling apart? Is this like, nails popping out of beams or something? So I called up Scott and he says, he laughs and he says, oh yeah, he says, you've got exploding carbuncles. And I'm like, what? And he says, no, really, actually it's fish. It's like carp and they whap, they're eating the algae off the bottom of your boat and they whack the side with their fins. So anyhow, last night, 11 o'clock, 11:30, almost midnight, Louise and I we had a long day, and we finally got into bed and turned the lights off, and everything's quiet. And I said, wait a minute. You hear bubbles? And she's like, yeah, I hear bubbles. And I'm hearing a lot of bubbles. I mean, I should have gone out and recorded it for you, but it was like, and I was like, bubbles are not good if you're on a boat. It's coming out of the water, right? And so I ran upstairs and out the door of the bridge to the dock, the dock. And sure enough, there's all these bubbles coming up from the side of the boat. I'm underneath the boat. And so I ran back in and I could hear them. I mean, really loud. So I ran back in, I got a flashlight and I went out and there's all these bubbles. I'm like, Louise, come here and look at this. She comes out and she looks and, oh my God, look at the bubbles that are coming. And so I thought, this is it. The boat is sinking, right? It must have frozen at the water line. And, it's a fiberglass hull, so maybe it cracked or something. And if it's sinking, I mean, look at all this air. I mean, there was just this enormous amount of bubbles coming out of the boat, and it was all in this one maybe 4-foot long stretch along the middle of the boat. And so I thought that was where the crack must be. And so I'm like, where's the valuable stuff? Where are, the family pictures? Why, emergency plan? But there was no alarm going off. The bilge pumps weren't going. There was no, apparently. So I'm opening hatches, and Louise is trying to get a hatch open. She's pulling apart a couch to try and get into a hatch to look on, underneath down below and see if there's water. Are we taking on water? Are we filling up? Because underneath where we live and sleep is the motors. And in the midst of this, I thought, I got to call Scott and ask him what's going on, if he knows something that I don't know, And so I called Scott, and fortunately he was awake, and I said, I'm sorry to bother you at this time of the day, but, I think my boat is sinking and we're going to be dead in 20 minutes, frozen in Davy Jones' locker. And yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. I mean, it was more punctuated, but yeah. And so he says, well, it's what it is he said, at your marina, they've got this pump that blows bubbles underneath all the boats. They've got like this hose with holes punched in it that runs all the way down the finger dock. And the bubbles, he said, whenever the air temperature is below 20 degrees, they do this so that the water doesn't freeze and lock the boats in. And so the bubbles are to keep the water from freezing on the surface. He said, it's good for you. It's helping you. And I said, oh, whew, thank you. And as I got off the phone, Louise comes bursting into the bedroom, the master stateroom, I think they call it, and says, I can't get this couch up. I can't get that hatch open. I don't, and I said, it's okay. And she's like, well, what is it? And I said, well, I just talked to Scott, and he said there's this kind of fish that when the surface of the water starts to freeze, this fish goes up to the water and grabs these giant gulps of air, like enough to fill up a whole balloon, and then goes deep down underwater to hold it, and then eventually lets it out, and those bubbles come up, and they hit the bottom of the boat. And so the fish are hiding out underneath their boat. And she looks at me kind of funny and goes, well, I guess that's okay. And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And then I told her the real story, and she's like, you punked me. It's the first time in years I've gotten away with something like that. It's just... Okay, so enough of that story. Now, yes, exactly. Gilligan's Island. I mean, that's what it's like living in our house. So anyhow, why I started this whole thing was Saturday morning. I'm going to Minneapolis, and because the weather forecast says that Saturday around 10 o'clock in the morning is when it's going to get above freezing for the very first time, and we'll be able to actually have water on the boat. And I won't be there. I'll be in Minneapolis, but Louise will be there, and so hopefully she can fill the boat.